Okay.
She and I have been chatting.
Oh, nice.
All
There you
right.
go.
All right.
What you got? Good.
Hear me? All right. How do I change this?
Oh, I'll do.
You can hang out with me up here? Okay. You can hang out. It's okay. That's it right there. All right. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. If that feels bad, you can use that one and
All
use
right.
your drinks over here.
As Gabe said, my name is Steve Rozenberg. I am the owner and co-founder of Empire Industries Property Management. Has anyone heard of that company at all? A couple people? We manage about 900 houses in the Houston area. And so for the next 45, 50 minutes or so, I'm going to do my best to kind of tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about how my journey kind of happened to get me here, and then kind of see how I can help you guys get you to where you want to go. Sound good? Fair? Doesn't matter because I got the key to the remote. So raise hands just so I can understand who's who in here. Who in here has been doing this for maybe less than a year, still trying to figure this out, maybe own one house, a couple houses? Okay. And who in here is longer than that, kind of killing it, owning a bunch of properties, wheeling and dealing? And, okay, who in here is tired of people like me standing up here saying how great things are and how we ride unicorns to work every day and fart rainbows and have all that stuff and have it all figured out, right? Well, I can tell you my story, and that is very much not the case. As a matter of fact, I think you guys are going to find that my story is probably a lot more relatable to many people in this room as I tell you how I got into this event. Is there some feedback? You hear a little feedback?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was told that we can always make more money, but we can't make more time. So the fact that you guys are here tonight, spending time with me, I'm going to do my best to share as much information as I can, and hopefully by the time we're done, you guys are going to ask me some questions. Some of you guys are going to leave with some manuals that I have, some free stuff that I'm going to give away, a lot of stuff that you guys are all going to walk out of here better investors. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Change mics. Check. Oh, it works for me, buddy.
Is it me?
Oh, look at that. You just gotta bring it up top. Kind of like you're rapping. Kind of like you gotta tell a story.
Better?
Yeah, it's good.
Thanks. All right. We'll see how that goes. If not, I'm just going to talk.
There you go.
All right.
We'll make it work.
So my story is a little bit different. I never wanted to be in real estate. I never wanted to own a business. I never wanted to be a speaker. I had a career. I was very happy with my career. I studied my whole life for this career. And unfortunately, something happened, a day in history, that changed my life forever without me being a part of it, and it altered my life. And that was this day. And I think a lot of people probably are old enough, maybe not you, to know what that day represents. Probably we even know where we were when this picture was taken. Is that safe to say? And your day of how you viewed the world on September 10th was probably much different than how you viewed the world on September 12th. Well, that was even more evident and relevant to me because I was and still am an airline pilot. So being an airline pilot, having something like that happen changed my life forever. So something happened, a tragic day happened, and from that point forward, I realized that the safe, secure job that I had studied my whole life to do was basically going to be gone. As a matter of fact, I was told about 4 days after 9/11 that I was actually sent a furlough notice saying, thanks for playing, but we don't think we're going to need your services anymore. So you go from, I don't know if anyone's ever been in that situation where you have a career, and it's not like a downsizing of an industry. When you get downsized, you know that something's going to happen, and you are going to maybe lose your job, not really sure. Well, this was much different because this was not a downsizing. This was the ripping off of a Band-Aid very, very quickly. And there was 200,000 other people standing out there going, is this industry ever going to even exist? What's going to happen? What are we going to do? Companies were shutting down. People were losing their jobs. Pensions, furloughs were getting wiped away in bankruptcy. Maybe you guys maybe remember some of that. For me, it was very, very prevalent because it was happening to me. So the challenge I had is I had to understand that this safe, secure job that I had was not safe and secure. And actually, being so specialized made me unmarketable because I couldn't even go get a job driving a truck because I was only qualified to fly an airplane and a certain type of airplane. Couldn't even fly other airplanes. And you realize that you're so specialized, you almost pigeonhole yourself. And it's great if nothing ever happens, but if you get a catastrophe like that, you realize things could go bad really in a hurry. So I started learning and started realizing that I need to have something else. Never wanted to give up flying, but I needed to realize that I needed something else for a pension, retirement, in case this whole airline thing wasn't going to work out, because it wasn't going so well for me at that time. So I started learning about real estate, I started learning about investing, I started doing everything I could to try to understand how other people are doing this. And what I realized is there was like this whole other society of investors buying properties, wheeling and dealing, apartments, flipping, all these words I never heard of. And I'm thinking, how does this even exist? Like, I've never even heard of these terms. But I thought, I need to learn this because if there's another catastrophe, I'm done. I'll never have a job again. So I started learning, I started reading like a book a week on real estate, just really consumed myself. I joined a bunch of investment clubs, similar ones you guys are probably a part of, and I just learned as much as I could. And I started, at the time it was called wholesaling, optioning. I was selling options and contracts. And that's all I did for a long time. I got very, very good at it. Made a lot of money doing it. But I still wanted to own real estate, and that was kind of a means to an end because the challenge with wholesaling was when I stopped, so did the money. And so to me, that wasn't a means, that was a second job. I didn't want a second job. I wanted a business that was going to operate. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up going into partnership and buying an apartment complex. And it did very well. Sold the apartment complex about 3 years later. And my business partner at the time, we're still business partners today, surprisingly, he says, hey, I got these great deals. I think we should buy a couple of them. And I'm like, well, tell me about them. He says, well, they make a lot of money on paper. They're really easy to get into. I don't see a downside. We should buy them. I'm like, okay, let's get them. He goes, they're called low-income houses. I'm like, okay, well, let's get them. And I'm like, well, why just get one? Why don't we get like 20? So in the next year and a half, we start buying up all these low-income houses, right? We're going all over the bad areas of town. We're buying $30,000, $40,000 properties, soaking them up, getting them in. And that's kind of where my story starts and where our problems began. So after about a year and a half of buying these crappy homes, all of a sudden our phones started ringing. And we realized that these people on the other end were called tenants. And they wanted things from us. They wanted things fixed. They didn't maybe want to pay their rent on time. And we thought, well, that's odd. Maybe these are just, this doesn't happen all the time. So the challenge we had is when you think you do something and you think you're very good at it, you start cutting corners. Anyone ever do that? And you start thinking, I don't have to do that, right? So here's an example of a property that we bought. This was a gem down in South Park. That was a 60% or maybe 59% cash-on-cash return. Great deals, a duplex. One side was going to pay for the other. $600 a month rental, $700, whatever it was going to be great. You guys see that? See that line in the grass there? Can you guys see it's kind of light out? But you see the grass?
Okay. Truck tire.
That is a sewage line that was never connected to the property. Had we gotten an inspection on the property, we probably would have caught that. But we were too smart, and we thought, we don't need to get an inspection. We walked the property once, it's fine. It's boarded up, what could go wrong, right? Just knock the boards off, do a make ready, we're good to go, right? So we thought, okay, well, that's a one-off. Now we know, flush the toilets, run the water, let's see what happens next time. We'll be good to go, right? Well, we started having more and more problems. More and more problems. This became our standard move out. Our tenants stayed an average of 8 months. Our make-ready costs were 3 times the amount because when our tenants would leave, not only would they leave, but they would take a lot of parting gifts with them, like wiring and electricity and ceiling fans and toilets and you name it. If it wasn't attached, even if it was attached, they would take it with them. And if they didn't do it, the neighbors would come and take stuff. So it was kind of like a swap meet. I remember one time we went to a property and the bushes were actually removed from our house and we're in the neighbor's yard now. And we're actually looking at the hole and we're seeing that this guy has brand new bushes. We're like, I think those are our bushes. He's like, no, those are mine. What are you gonna do? If you take them back, you're just gonna take them when you leave, right? So like, whatever, all right, gravel it in. So we were having some problems. Major problems. This one, I love this. So can you guys see this blue tape right here? There's a radio pushed up against it. There's a brick. You guys see that? That is a snake that a tenant left in the property for our maintenance guy to find. So I don't know who was more scared, the snake or the maintenance guy, when they actually pulled the tape off. But it was not good, as you can imagine. So at this point, we realized, okay, we have some problems, right? We are not very good at this model. This is not working. So me and my business partner, still thinking we're pretty smart, we decide, we know how to fix this. What do you think we do? What do you think we do? We buy another 15 more properties, just like them. Because we figure we're halfway through the hill. We've got to keep on pushing, right? We've got to get through this thing. If we get more of these properties, we can use economies of scale. This pretty much was our life at this time, and it was like throwing gasoline on top of that, and it just exploded in our faces. And it's funny, when you step back and look at it, you think, how could we have ever thought that that plan was going to work, right? Like, we just took bad and made it worse, thinking that we would get two negatives doesn't make a positive in this scenario, right? It was a bad deal. And so we realized we suck at buying properties. We are no good at this. This is bad. So what we did is we sat down and we said, okay, we need to stop, because we are bad. We suck at buying homes. So we sat down and said, okay, we have three options. The one option is we sell the properties. The next option is we hire a management company to manage them. And the third option is we self-manage them. Well, I was still flying as an airline pilot. He was running an IT department for a big company. So that wasn't an option. I didn't want another job, right? Obviously, we weren't very good at managing to begin with. We couldn't get a management company because, unfortunately, all the management companies said, we're not managing those crappy homes. Like, we don't want those. Those are horrible deals. Why would you buy those? And we're like, I'm looking at my business partner like, I thought those were good deals. Like, you told me these are slamming deals. What? So then we tried, okay, maybe we'll sell them. Well, this is about 2009. You guys know what's going on then? No one's getting a loan in 2009. We're stuck with these things, right? So we're trying to figure out what to do. So we decide, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to step back and we are going to create a management company to manage those houses. We're just going to barrel down and we're going to run this like a business. And so we sat down for about 6-9 months and created the policies and procedures and structure that we thought as investors we would want our companies to run as. Okay? And after about another 6 months, they actually started to stabilize. They never made us money, but they weren't bleeding us to death anymore. They kind of stabilized. We kicked out about 70% of our deadbeat tenants. They weren't paying anyway, so they were just taking up air, really. And we got rid of them, and we started to actually stabilize it. But what happened, what was interesting, is we actually had other investors that we knew from Lifestyles and Rich Club and all the other clubs saying, hey, you know, we thought you guys were going to lose all your properties. What happened? And we said, well, we started running it like a business, started kicking people out if they didn't pay their rent. Novel concept, right? And next thing you know, the good tenants stayed, the bad tenants left, we got the good tenants in. Again, novel concept. And what happened is we had other investors say, that's the same problem I'm having. Could you manage our houses? And so we thought to ourselves, hell no, we do not want your problems. We barely figured out our own. The last thing we want to do is take your problems and make them ours. But after a while, we realized, you know what, maybe if we stabilize this and we actually structured it, we could run this like a business and we could have a management company. So we started taking on a couple properties. And what we ended up doing was, after about another 9 months, we had about 80 properties now that we're managing for people. And so what happened is we realized maybe this is a business. Maybe there's something here. So we went to a business coach and we said, here's what we did before, here's what we're doing now, and here's what we're thinking we could do moving forward. And he says, well, you have a market, you have opportunity, and you've got scalability in this business model. So yes, technically, you guys have a business. What you morons do with it from here, based on your past experience, is anyone's guess, because you are not good businessmen. So, of course, we hired him right on the spot. He became our business coach at that day, right? And that was June of 2012, just to give you guys a reference time. So December of 2012 is when we did what's called burning the boats. Has anyone ever heard that term before, burning the boats? Yes. So in 334 AD, Alexander the Great decided they were going to invade Persia. Okay? So when they got to Persia, they realized the Persian army was much bigger than their army. So to make sure that his men were committed, He said, we're either going home in Persian boats or we're not going home at all. Burn the boats. And they burned the boats and they ended up going home as victors in Persian boats. So December 1, 2012, that's when my business partner and I, we basically burned our boats. He quit his job full time. He went all in. We hired our first full-time employee and we were off to the races. Now, what we do now, flash forward 5.5 years, coming on 6, we manage 900 houses. Last year we closed about 361 new properties. This year we're over 200 properties. We manage $120 million in assets, and every month we collect over $1.5 million in rent. That's a shitload of money, I gotta say, coming in and out every month. I'm just saying, every time I see that coming in, that is a lot of revenue coming in. We used to have operating in one city, in Houston. Now we're in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and opening up in Austin. So we are expanding our model more and more, okay? So, in 2014, we actually won Best Marketing in North America. We had a 1,471% return on our marketing dollars. That's me and my business partner. You see, we both have no hair, because that's what happens when you manage. That's our business coach. He's kind of going bald because he deals with us on a regular basis. And that is the owner and founder of the whole coaching franchise. So, as you can imagine, I've had to do a shift and a change to become a different person, right? So now, I've been on radio shows all over the country, in other countries. I have my own radio show tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Landlord Survival Show. You guys want to listen? It's a great show. I've been on every podcast. I'm a guest speaker at different events around the country. I go to Australia and speak, different cities and speak on this subject, working with investors, trying to help investors understand, just like I'm doing here with you guys, to try to change how you think, okay? So, first and foremost, I am an educator. I am not a motivator, okay? A motivator just is gonna make you do stupid shit faster, and that is not what I'm here to do. You guys can probably all go outside and do stupid shit on your own without me having to motivate you to do it. I know, because I've done it all the time. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. Time to go.